I think Conservative voters will follow David Cameron, which will give us, I think, a really important win in the referendum. I'm not sure the majority of Conservative activists will necessarily, but I'm not disheartened about that. I think actually that many Conservative activists will follow David Cameron. So overall, his leadership, which was always going to be the case in this referendum, his leadership and him coming out clearly in favour of us staying in a reformed Europe, and even saying, and I think this is one of the most significant interventions he made during the course of the negotiations, to say, well, if this deal had been on the table from the beginning, I would have recommended joining a Europe that's structured like this. Now, that was a very telling intervention, and that's what we have to build on in the rest of this campaign. The really important thing for the in-campaign now is to get across all the messages about the importance of Europe in every aspect where it delivers for Britain. And that phrase, delivering for Britain, is always rather a good one, I think. I mean, clearly, I've worked on the single market all my life in the European Parliament, and I joined the Conservative Party because I was an enthusiast for the single market. And I think that one of the things we have to get across is the depth and importance of the single market to Britain and the nature of this single market itself. There's a huge amount of confusion in the no campaign camp about trade and trade deals. You know, they say, well, we just want, I quote, a Europe based on trade and cooperation. Well, creating the world's largest single market, as shown recently in an OECD paper, by the way, the world's largest single market, the market where we have more regulatory cooperation than any other market, more single rules for goods and now for services as well, is an extraordinary achievement. And all of that legislation, of course, is incorporated in UK law. And so the idea from the no side that we, first of all, can simply walk back into a negotiation because our market is so important and we'll simply be allowed free access to that. And secondly, what it would mean to disentangle all of that if we decided that we weren't going for that sort of cooperative deal, I think has never really been exposed, and we need to do that. The real danger to winning the in campaign is still going to be centred, I think, on the issues about migration and immigration, and the fact that those two could well be fused together in the public mind. Now, I think there is a strong case to be made about that in terms of free movement being an integral part of the single market package, but that may not be enough to convince people, and I think that's the crucial thing. The second thing is on this question of so-called sovereignty, and I thought David Cameron dealt with that really brilliantly in his Andrew Marr interview, where he launched the campaign effectively on Sunday morning, where he said to people, well, sovereignty is no good intrinsically for its own sake unless it gives you real power. And one of the things that's really absent from British political dialogue is the influence and power that ministers and MEPs have had in shaping Europe as it is now. And our colleagues who I meet, MEPs from other European countries, say to me, well, Malcolm, why is it that your country has been so influential in shaping Europe the way it is, but apparently you now, or your citizens now, want to leave it? And that's a really important message we have to deal with. Well, I mean, I'll be involved as part of the troops on the ground. I mean, obviously, since I have a background, I'm sure that there will be opportunities I will go and be debating with the other side. I mean, clearly, the people who will have the most influence on the Conservative side will be the MPs in particular, and the core of MEPs who've decided to support the in-camp, and particularly those who hold ministerial roles. And I think other significant leaders, obviously there will be people in the Lords, business leaders and so on. I mean, retired European politicians like me will have a role, but I think we're almost regarded, we're part of the elite who are calling for this. And what we have to make sure is this is not an elitist campaign. We don't want to see people, so people will say to me, well, you're a pensioner, I mean, you've spent 15 years in Brussels on the gravy train, so of course you will be in favour. Now, I mean, I can develop strong arguments for that, but I think the heavy lifting on radio, on television and in newspapers is going to have to be done by the core people around David Cameron and Westminster. Of course, the members of Europa, which is a really important organisation, can play a key role in providing us with the facts and figures and background that are going to feed into defeating these arguments, because there will be people here on the ground who will have all that expertise. So I just leave a simple example. I think it's likely that the anti-campaign, the Leave campaign, will come up as their alternative with some sort of economic partnership agreement modelled on the Canadian agreement. I'm sure there'll be your members who've worked on it will know the details of that and will be able to provide the facts about what that would really mean in practice for Britain and whether it's in any way delivering the benefits of staying in.